You're listening to the Telltale channel. Don't forget to check me out on all social media: Patreon, Twitter, Teespring, and Etsy. All links can be found in the description or on my website, telltaleatheist.com. In this podcast, we're going to talk about who Andrew Tate is and some of the stranger stuff he's had to say recently. Televangelist Andrew Womack's latest nutter buttery. He claims God has made him completely immune from COVID, and he can do it for you too. Televangelist Lance Wallnau praying for another bad boy billionaire, quote-unquote, to sweep in and save the United States, like Elon Musk and Trump did, apparently. We also take voicemails if you want to leave a voicemail. The number is 1-800-701-8573. I've got a listener who calls into my voicemail system who doesn't like the sound of his voice, asked me not to play it on air, so I'll just tell you what he said. He directed me to this video that, I forget the title of it, something like how to tell that there are angels in your house or something like that. I figured we'd kind of go through it because there's apparently a list of things that you can look at to tell if there's an angel in your home. Of course, I don't believe in any of this garbage. It's complete nonsense. But let's just take a look at the list, shall we? Let's just start out by watching the video. This is how it starts.
Angels are everywhere and they are always present in your life.
Calming music, notice. Calming music and pretty background, okay?
They have been assigned to each of us to guide you, watch over you, assist you, and protect you in your everyday life.
Okay, I'm going to need a little evidence for this. It kind of goes on like this for a while, and of course it's like a robotic voice, so I figure I'll just read it. This means they could also be present in your house at various times, and they often leave signs to let you know that they visited your house or they're nearby. So how do you know if an angel is in your house? Here's how angels make their presence known and how you can improve your sensitivity to their energy, whatever the hell that means. Okay, here's number 1. The first sign an angel is in your home.
Sign number 1. Finding feathers.
What if you have a pillow that uses feathers? Is that also a sign that there's an angel there? That you bought a pillow that has feathers in it? I mean, feathers are going to come out of pillows every now and then, right? Is it still a sign of an angel?
One of the most common signs that angels are present is when you find feathers in your space.
Dude, this is just bad. The robotic voice, it's all terrible. When you see feathers and there's no possible source for this in your house, it is a sign that an angel has visited you in your home. How about, like, what if a friend comes over and drops, like, a feather off of one of their sequin dresses or something like that? You ever consider that one? Does this even happen to anybody? Has this literally ever happened? It is a beautiful sign that they are near, guiding, loving, and helping you in the background. Sign number 2, finding coins. Oh, wow. Because we know coins are notoriously never dropped anywhere. You never find coins anywhere, so this would be completely out of the blue and mysterious and confusing and absolutely no other explanation but angels, right?
Finding coins. Finding coins is also one of the signs that angels are present in your house.
When you find a coin randomly or someone gives you a coin, you may need to pay attention. Check your coin. Does it have something significant for you in it? Do coins contain items that I was unaware of? I didn't know that that coins could be opened like treasure boxes. Like the date of the coin, ? What were you thinking or asking for right before you notice it? Not noticed it, but notice it, okay? Observe what's happening within and around you when you found the coin so you will be able to decipher the message that your angels were trying to tell you. Sign number 3, spiritual chills. What is a spiritual chill? Whenever angels are in the same space as you, there's a possibility that you'll experience a spiritual chill. This is because angels are beings of very high frequency. I love how they're just saying this, like stating it as a fact, as though they have, more insight into the situation than you do. Like they know more about this stuff than you because God came and talked to them personally about this and explained it to them. There's a frequency, and you let off certain frequencies, and angels let off other ones. Just complete nonsense. This means that whenever they're near you, there will be a noticeable change in the surrounding energy as angels are so energizing. Okay. Oh, wow. These backgrounds are actually getting pretty cool. I like this. That's why it's not a surprise when you feel some tingling sensations on your skin, which are also called spiritual chills. Oh, tingling sensations, you say. Okay. Humans have lower energy vibration than angels, so when our own energy gets in contact with the energy of angels, it amplifies your energy and vibration as well, which is why spiritual chills happen. Again, they're just making this up and pretending they know more about it than you do. It's complete nonsense. It could manifest as goosebumps or skin tingling for no apparent reason, and this is a sign that an angel is in the home. Couldn't possibly be due to any other thing, right? Sign number 4, ringing in your ear. Oh, tinnitus. Okay. So we're just listing random symptoms of conditions that, any given person could have. If you have tinnitus, then it's a sign that an angel is nearby. You find coins, it's an angel. You have ringing in your ears, it's an angel. You sneeze, it's an angel. You find a feather, it's an angel. Like, come on, give me a break, people. Another sign of an angel presence is when you experience hearing something ringing in your ears when you don't have a medical condition. If you hear ringing in your ears, it means you have a medical condition. People buy this stuff. Seriously. These people, like this video, is one of many that is advertised all over the place. That's why the caller called in the first place. They wanted me to address the fact that these videos exist, and it frustrates the hell out of them. So I totally get it. This could be a sign that you're tuned into the divine sound of angels in the universe. However, this comes as a ringing in the ears because it's believed to be a message from your angels that you are not ready to hear. And what happens if it's a message you are ready to hear? Is it like a screaming in your ear, or... It is your angel's way of downloading their guidance and knowledge to your mind and allowing your consciousness to translate it when the time is right. So it's like the dial-up sound is what you're saying. Okay. I gotta find the dial-up sound now. Angel calling. I have a message for you. This is an angel. Can you hear me? Are you getting the message? Okay. Message received, hopefully. God, it's so stupid, dude. Anyways, so yeah, that was an angel downloading their guidance and knowledge to your mind and allowing your consciousness to translate it when the time is right, apparently. And as you continue to grow spiritually and raise your vibration, you will be more tuned in to angels. Sign number 5, feelings of warmth. Couldn't be that it's too hot in your house, right? Couldn't be that you're wearing a thick sweater or anything. It has to be an angel. Another unmistakable sign that angels are in your house is when you feel heavenly warmth and comfort. Their presence invokes feelings of positivity while their guidance brings you confidence. Oh, this is like euphoria. So this isn't even just warmth, physical warmth. This is you drank an extra cup of coffee, seems like. Archangel Michael is mostly associated with this warmth, but it can also be attributed to other angels because of their high energy vibration. Christianity, or many denominations, are like borderline, God, what's the word for it? Not monotheistic, but plural theistic, I guess. No, there's another word for it, not plural theistic. God, what's the other word? And not monotheistic, but polytheistic. God, thank you so much. Polytheistic. I could not remember the word. Christianity, or many denominations, are borderline polytheistic. Like all this talk about different saints in Catholicism, they literally pray to certain saints for various different things. All this talk about different angels that like watch over you and do this thing or that thing or care about this specific thing in your life or whatever. It's almost polytheistic. It is so weird to me. This warmness is a result of the energy shift when spiritual beings enter the physical world. Oh, wait, so is it a physical warmness or is it the euphoria? Which is it? Is it both? Is it whatever you happen to notice in any moment? It's all nonsense, dude. That's why you may experience a sudden change in temperature and feelings of warmth when angels are present. Oh, so it is a physical warmth feeling, because they were discussing euphoria a minute ago. Like, people will fall for just about anything. Like, they just turn their brains off when it comes to religion, seriously. And the people that make videos like this are so predatory. They know people will fall for anything, so they'll produce videos like this that appeal to their sense of spiritualism or whatever. Honestly sad. It may be subtle, like someone just turned up the temperature in the room, or can be as high and as fast as a hot flash. Also, again, another symptom of something. If you're having hot flashes, it's not a symptom of a condition, it's an angel. Sign number 6, music. Really, okay? Angels' presence may also be revealed through music. There were people who heard angelic music and singing that seemed to be coming from beyond the physical world. Another way is through recurring songs or a series of songs having similar themes. Oh, so if you're listening to Spotify or YouTube Music or whatever, and you happen to listen to 2 Nickelback songs in a row, everybody loves Nickelback, right? It's a sign that an angel is trying to send you a message, that you should be looking at this photograph and laughing every time you do, or some other nonsense. These are ways of your angels to communicate with you and let you know of their presence, okay? Sign number 7, butterflies in your stomach. Again, couldn't be due to anything else, has to be angels. Angels can also make you feel like you have butterflies in your stomach. While this feeling can be felt when you get excited or nervous, you think? There can be times when you feel it for no reason. When this happens, this could mean that angels are visiting you. They may be coming through and connecting with you through your solar plexus chakra. Oh my God, we're getting like super spiritual now. Chakras, really? FYI, chakras are completely fake. Like, there is no truth to the existence of chakras. It's completely made up. It's kind of antithetical to Christianity, too, to believe in this kind of thing. It's weird to see these things mixed in together. This happens as angels may want to guide you and help you make better, not make better, but make better. One word, no space in between. Help you make better choices in any crucial decisions you may be facing through your gut feeling. Sign number 8, smelling sweet scents. Okay, phantom smells are actually the symptom of real illness, possibly stroke. If you're smelling phantom smells, you should get that checked out by a doctor. It's not an angel, okay? Angels may also make their presence known through sweet scents that you can't tell where it's coming from. The grammar on this is absolutely on point. Look, there's a nose in the background. Most of the time, the source of the smell is obvious and can be easily identified. When a particular scent not appears, but appear, out of nowhere and directly speaks to your soul, triggering some special memories, these kinds of scents are coming from your angels. What's more interesting is that angels have uniques, plural, uniques. They have unique scents that will help you identify who's visiting. Guardian angels are associated to minty chocolate smells, while archangels to floral scents. How do they know any of this? Let me give you a little piece of information. Nobody knows any more about the spiritual realm than anybody else, okay? You are not more attuned to it than anybody. Your pastor doesn't know more about God than you do. It's all made up, okay? From beginning to end, every last bit of it. They don't know any more than you do about it. They don't know any more about this than you do. Sign number 9, you feel you're not alone. This is an interesting one, actually. There was a study with something called the God helmet. Okay, so the God helmet is pretty famous in atheist circles. I don't know if you've heard of it before or not, but they put these little electrical stimulating patches in the helmet at various different points. They put the helmet on a person, and they put him in a dark room, pitch black, sitting in a chair. They start stimulating one of the patches, and the person, closed eyes, can't see anything, perceives 3 entities in the room with them. They can literally produce the experience of somebody seeing or feeling the presence of other beings in the room with them by stimulating certain parts of the brain. This is a reasonably well understood evolutionary experience, or psychological experience that people have. We evolved the ability to experience things like this. The most accepted reason for why we evolved this part of our brain in the first place is because of something called false negatives and false positives. So at one point in our history as a species, we were prey animals. We were being hunted by predators like lions or tigers or bears or whatever, right? Now we're standing there and we hear a bush rustling next to us. We can think to ourselves, it was just the wind. If it's not the wind, if it's actually a predator coming to get us, that was a false negative. We falsely assumed there was not something there, and we are now lunch. We're dead. If we hear the bush rustling and we think to ourselves, it's a bear or a lion or a tiger, and bolt, and it wasn't a lion, a bear, or a tiger, if it really was the wind, we're not lunch. Either way, we survived another day. It was a false positive, but we survived. So we evolved this propensity to believe there was something there, even when there wasn't. That is why we sense that somebody is in the room with us. That's why we assume that there's something watching us, waiting, trying to grab us when we're not paying attention. It's a holdover from our prey past. And here is a perfect example right here. You can also tell when an angel is present in your house when you feel that you're not alone, even if you are. This is an example of these people taking advantage of that prey past, taking advantage of that experience that we had as prey animals. When you feel a presence, but you're not afraid or worried, but feel calm and peaceful instead, it is your angel visiting you in your house. Yeah, like I said, the God helmet doesn't necessarily produce feelings of fear or anything. You just recognize entities in the room with you when they stimulate certain parts of the brain. So you don't necessarily feel fear or whatever when these entities appear. You can feel perfectly calm and believe that there's something there. It's not. It's just your brain producing this experience. Well-studied phenomenon. This presence brings positive feelings and the inner knowing that you are not alone and you are guided and supported by higher forces. God, the grammar on this is ridiculous. Sign 10, flashes of light. Okay. Flashes of light are one of the most common signs that angels are visiting your house. I'm trying to get through these flashes without causing seizures. Seeing unusual or unexplained flashes or shimmers of light, seeing color around you or another person is a sure sign of an angel's presence. Okay, that's weird because I see colors around me all the time. Like, I'm seeing colors all over the place. Like, my lights are kind of a yellowish white color. My keyboard is white. I have another black keyboard in front of me. I have black monitors. Like, what do they mean, colors? I mean, I see in color. I don't just turn color off randomly. I don't understand. This is because angels are beings of light and love, and it only makes sense that angels would send this sign to inform you of their presence. What if it's devils? Do you ever consider that possibility? What if it's demons that are sending you these signs? Aren't demons just fallen angels? Can't they produce all the same phenomena as angels? These are some of the most common signs that angels are in your house. Invoke their presence and invite them in your home, so your home will be filled with blessings and wrapped in angels' protection every day. Please don't forget to subscribe. No, that's going to be a no from me, dog. Sorry. Wow, that was one hell of a video. So anyways, just bizarre, dude. I don't know. Let me know what you think about it in the comments. That blows me away. And don't click on garbage like that. It's complete nonsense. Wait, you got those subway coins for Christmas, Owen. Does that mean you're haunted by angels now? Oh no, you're right. I am. I got 5 coins for Christmas. Holy heckers. I'm haunted by angels. What am I going to do? That's a good point. I didn't even think about that. These are the subway coins that have been used. So it started out, the subway was created in the early 1900s. I think 1898 is when construction started. And I think it finished in like 1902, right? They built 2 subway stations, or 4, or something like that. One on 42nd Street, one in Harlem. I forget. Anyways, Grand Central was one, I think. They were a nickel originally. You put a nickel in, you ride the subway wherever you want to go. Some years later, they upped it to a dime. And when it was time to up it to 15 cents, the engineers had trouble building a coin acceptor that only accepted 2 different separate coins. So instead, they sold these tokens, subway tokens, at the counter in each subway station at the booth or whatever. And they started out in 1953 with the one on the far right, I think. It had a little Y cut out of it. It should be on the far right on your screen. A couple years later, 1970, they did another one. I think they raised it to 30 cents or something like that. Came with a little piece of paper. It says the subway fare was a nickel for the first 44 years and a dime for the next 5 years. In 1953, the fare was set to rise to 15 cents, but engineers couldn't design a turnstile that would accept two different coins. Thus, the token was born. With the introduction of the versatile Metro card, tokens were retired. Yeah, you just have a little card, like a credit card kind of, that you scan. You buy it, and you just scan it, and you can go through. Yeah, that's one of the things I got for Christmas, and I think that's pretty fucking cool. I feel like at a certain point, you've got way too many Pokemon, though, right? Like, I kind of drew the line when they came up with Garbodor and Trubbish, the trash Pokemon. They are literally a bag of trash. That is too far entirely. Really. Trubbish, a trash bag. You have a Pokemon that is a trash bag. Come on. That's too much, guys. So yeah, that's where I drew the line. I mean, the original 150 had stupid Pokemon too, but Trubbish, that's bad. What element is he? That's a good question. Let's see. Poison. That makes sense. Gender. 50% male, 50% female. I didn't know they had that option as gender. Weird. Huh. Okay. Anyway, the point is, it's just way too far now. Way too far. Pokemon is just running out of ideas at this point. Absolutely. Seriously. Trubbish? Come on. They couldn't do better than Trubbish, a pile of trash. Muck and Grimer are objectively better Pokemon because they're not a pile of fucking trash. You need humans to create trash, right? How do you create trash without a human? How did this Pokemon evolve into existence in the first place? Just nonsense, dude. Really, really bothers me that Trubbish exists. So that's when I stopped playing Pokemon, when Trubbish came to be. Actually, it was way before that. I've never actually finished any Pokemon games except for like Fire Red and Leaf Green. Or the originals, actually. I had Blue on the original Game Boy. It was a fantastic game. An argument in favor of Trubbish. Pokemon is based in Shintoism. Spirits reside in all things. So a trash, gear, or sword Pokemon makes sense. Okay, that's a fair argument. I can get on board with that. I appreciate the super chat queue. It's still a little far-fetched, but I do appreciate that argument. That's a decent argument. A trash-carrying Pokemon would be fine. I agree, Lurking Off. But this is not a trash-carrying Pokemon. This is an actual bag of trash. The Pokemon is a bag of trash, and that's absurd to me. Muck. You're right. You're right. The original Pokemon, some of them were stupid too. I gotta give you that one. But Muck was not a bag of trash, okay? How would a bag of trash even evolve that has lollipops for hands? At least Muck is like, presumably poisonous mud, right? It's not a fucking bag of trash. Budman Buds, last week he showed compassion to Enlo when Flynn was being a dick. QAnon is nuts, but Flynn was telling a 5-year-old there is no Santa, not how to bring these people back. Why I subbed to your channel. I appreciate that. Yeah, absolutely. It was disgusting. I just don't like seeing people like attack other people and be assholes to them for no reason. You don't have to be like that. Like, you can be a kind, compassionate person instead. And also, being a jerk like that causes the backfire effect. It turns people against you, makes them feel like they're being attacked, and makes them less likely to consider the things that you're saying. He should have been a lot kinder and lighter and nicer. It just bothers me deeply when I see people being dicks to others. That's why I don't insult people. Now, I did lay it on the line pretty heavily for a lot of these people tonight with this last one, but, you know, I wouldn't actually say that to their face. And I believe that it's against their rules to listen to this. I just want to make it blatantly obvious and perfectly clear to everybody that's watching, who knows, maybe one of their followers, that they lied. They lied. Blatantly, flat out lied. Claimed to hear the voice of God when they did not. So, anyways, yeah. I have compassion for everybody. I think it's wrong to be a D-bag to people or to insult people. Next, we're going to talk about who Andrew Tate is and some of the stranger stuff he's had to say recently. Give us 30 seconds, and we'll be right back. You're listening to the Telltale channel. If you like what I do and you want to see me continue to do it, check out my Patreon. You can also check out my Telltale Unfiltered channel, Twitter, and Teespring. All links can be found in the description. This is Andrew Tate. If you're unfamiliar with the guy, he was briefly in 2022 the most Googled man on the planet, outpacing Kim Kardashian, Donald Trump, and others. And if you're unfamiliar with him, if this is like the first you're hearing of him, you are... God, how do I say that? I don't know that you're in for a treat. That's probably not the right term, but you're going to be blown away by some of the stuff he believes. So let me give you a little baseline information about who he is. And then we're going to talk about some of the more bizarre stuff he's had to say recently. He brands himself as a blatantly misogynist person. He claims to be a misogynist, self-avowed, if you will. And he also calls himself the face of toxic masculinity. Now, toxic masculinity is not just the idea that, like, men are toxic or whatever. Toxic masculinity is things that are harmful to men that are societal norms, like refusing to accept your emotions and let them out in a healthy way. Instead of, say, crying, for example, you decide you bottle it all up until it all explodes and you go nuts on somebody. That is toxic masculinity, things that hurt men. He seems to have a completely different idea of what it is. But I'll tell you what, let me just show you a clip from the guy. This is from a recent debate he did in a supposed debate with feminists. Of course, none of the people he was debating were feminists. They were all, less than intelligent, I guess you could say. I'm trying not to be offensive or insulting here, but they weren't the most intelligent people on the planet. So anyway, let's listen to what he had to say here. Check this out. December 25th, 2022 is when this came out.
Men have been scared away from the idea of marriage, and a lot of that is the fault of this new bull law and this new feminism and this new crap. They don't give men any tactical advantage. And I'm talking about small things.
Tactical advantage? What does he mean by tactical advantage? Like, even the way that he frames things, even the way that he seems to, like, perceive the world around him is very obviously deeply misogynistic, right? Why do you need a tactical advantage in a marriage? I don't feel like I have a tactical advantage over my wife.
Small things. A man's not even allowed to be a man in his own house. You know, in England, you will get accused of emotional abuse. I can marry a woman, not lay a hand on her. I can just raise my voice at her. That's emotional abuse.
Yeah, you think? Really? Does he not know what emotional abuse is? Is this the first time he's ever heard this term before? I mean, I think he knows what it is. He just thinks that it should be used as, what was it he called it? A tactical advantage? He thinks that you should use emotional abuse as a tactical advantage against your wife.
Emotional abuse. I can raise my voice at her because she's going out drinking with dudes. She can go out drinking 6 nights a week with men.
Who cares what she's doing? There's no reason to scream at somebody like this.
And I can say, what the f***, you're my wife, sit down. She can call the cops, call me emotionally abusive. I get arrested now. Now there's a court case against me.
Hey, you know how you avoid that? By not screaming at your wife. That's simple. By not emotionally abusing her. It's that easy. No, he wants this as a tactical advantage. This is nuts.
Me. I have to go to court and defend myself. She'll divorce me, take my house. I have to sell my car because she's drinking vodka with...
No, because you're screaming at her. Seriously, is he not, like, connecting dots on this? This is his fault. He pushes all the bad things off onto the people around him. He blames everybody else for his bad situation. Now, he is actually facing consequences for his actions right now. But would you be surprised to find that he hasn't been arrested for emotional abuse? He's been arrested recently for human trafficking, money laundering, and something else. I don't remember exactly what it is. That's not emotional abuse, so I don't know what he's all concerned about right now anyways.
Because she's drinking vodka with God knows who.
But you noticed that earlier on.
It's insanity.
So the people in the background that started talking, like these two girls, and then there are like 2 more on the other side or 3 more on the other side or whatever, they all agree with him on almost everything, except for this girl in the corner. Apparently, this is a woman called Brittany Renner. She's an Instagrammer with like 4.5 million subbies or something like that. She's super famous, and she disagrees with him on a lot, but she almost doesn't talk at all through the entire thing. Anyways, oh my God, this is just like a crazy, unhinged, like debate, if you can even call it that. God, I got so much material from this. It's nuts. Again, this next clip should kind of draw out how he wants his woman to act, as he calls her. Listen to this.
The one of the important things for being a man, especially in a relationship, is we want to be our woman. If I have a woman and I love her, I want to be her portal to the world. I want her to experience things through me and see things through me. So for that, I need a degree of innocence and purity for her.
When he says innocence and purity, he's not talking like he wants her to be a virgin. He means he wants her to have not experienced a single thing in her life. I'm dead serious. I mean, not even riding on an airplane.
For her. If you show me a girl sitting in the corner, shy, I'm like, good, she hasn't experienced too much life. I can show her things. And also, not just show her things. This is a very important point that I get attacked by the Matrix for because they completely misunderstand me on purpose.
Okay, let's try not to misunderstand him, shall we? Let's go into this with our mind open and try to honestly, charitably interpret what he's saying here, okay?
As a man, if I'm out here struggling and leading and trying to lead my household, I also want a woman who shares my values. I want to a degree to educate my woman and show her things and for her to agree with me. Like you said earlier, Luke.
Okay, well, share my values. I was on board, absolutely. But what was that thing you just said?
I want a woman who shares my values. I want to a degree to educate my woman and show.
He wants to educate his woman. Dude, this guy.
Things and for her to agree with me. Like you said earlier, looking for a male role model. You want to be a role model to your woman. If she's too experienced with life, it's difficult to be a role model. If she's sitting there shy and quiet, you can come along and say, no, you know what? Don't take the fucking vaccine. Listen to me. And you can be a role model for her.
Okay, let me just lay this down for you. You know what age people usually need role models when they start like looking around for role models? 10, 11, 12 years old. That's when people are looking for role models. Unless you get a partner that is that age, they've already gone through the I need a role model phase pretty much. It's just so weird, so deeply weird. For what it's worth, he basically ran a system similar to how Jeffrey Epstein ran his system, except Andrew Tate didn't like run a system with underage girls. It was with teenagers. It was like 18, 19 years old. That's how old he went for. There's even video footage that I just got my hands on earlier today of Andrew Tate talking about how he tries to control the people in his life and prevent them from like leaving, prevent them from learning too much information, and all, just completely ass backwards, the whole thing.
Can be a role model for her. You can't do that for a woman who knows too fucking much, knows too many dudes, been too many places. So it's this degree of purity that we're looking for that's super important.
No, he's not looking for purity. He's looking for a complete lack of life experience. Deeply disturbing stuff, dude. Like, we're just covering clips from this supposed debate that he did between these people that weren't even, like, on the other side of the aisle anyways. We're not going outside of this. Like, if I have a ton of clips from this guy that are, you know, from like a couple years ago that are deeply disturbing. So his main complaint in life is that the Matrix, as he calls it, takes him out of context and cuts clips up and pulls them out and just gets like 3-second sound bites from like 3-hour conversations. I'm trying to provide enough context for you to these conversations that you fully understand exactly what he's talking about. Now, everything that he's said so far is deeply misogynistic, deeply wrong, and honestly isn't even out of context. Like, this is exactly what he meant in the context in which it was said. And if you doubt that, look at the entire breakdown of this whole debate on my Unfiltered channel. I did the entire 3-hour-long thing or something like that, and you can get the context. I promise I'm not pulling this stuff out of context. Let me form out the guy's views a little bit more for you. Listen to this next clip, and it should give you an idea of how he views women and how they're different from men. Well, before you listen to this, let me just say there is no difference between men and women. Fundamentally, we are all humans. For all intents and purposes, we really are not different.
Is cheating morally correct?
Yes.
Depends.
Yes.
How
So
can
you're
you say?
okay.
How can you
You're okay.
say that? Are you
You're
joking?
okay with your woman cheating on you then?
Absolutely not. That's haram.
No, because
Oh, it's around when she cheats on you, but you can cheat on her.
There has not been.
So he is okay. No, I'm sorry. He's not just okay with men cheating on women. He says it's a moral imperative. It is moral for men to cheat on women, but it is immoral for women to cheat on men. See the disparity there? Like, where is this dude's head? How did he get here? This is so ass backwards, everything about it. So a little bit later on in the conversation, I shouldn't even call it a debate. It's not. A little later on in the conversation, he comes back and touches on this cheating thing, right? I've noticed with this guy, what he tends to do is he says something, like he says what he really believes, that it's a moral good for men to cheat on women, but not for women to cheat on men. That's what he believes. And when he receives a little bit of pushback, he kind of moves back from that position a little bit more, until he backs himself into a more reasonable position. But we all know exactly what he believes because he goes to like a billion different podcasts and a billion different platforms and repeats all the same stuff. He says this over and over and over again. It's moral for men to cheat on women. It's immoral for women to cheat on men. So he can try to weasel his way out of this position as much as he wants, but we know what he believes because he says it openly. Listen to him expand upon this. It is moral for men to cheat on women thing.
Like, if a woman cheats on a man, that hurts the man at a level that it doesn't hurt the woman if the man cheats on her. It's different. It's different biologically. It's different evolutionarily. Like that.
No, it's not. Men and women are not biologically or evolutionarily different in that way. That's complete nonsense. Nobody wants to be cheated on. Like, there was a time in our history as human beings where we were largely polygamous, where we all kind of had relationships with each other, but as time went on, evolution selected for monogamy among men and women, both. Now, we are not fully moved over to monogamy yet as a species. We are actually serial monogamists. So we'll go from one partner to the next, but it's only one partner at a time, usually. Sometimes you find the odd couple that is into polygamy, but that's not the societal norm right now for human beings. We are not different in the sense that men are hurt worse when they're cheated on than women. That's completely absurd. And he's trying to pretend like he knows anything about science right now to give his argument some layer of credibility. He's trying to give his argument some weight, as though he has any idea what he's talking about.
Narrowly. Like, that's what men used to fight and die over. And this is why you see these TikToks, right? You see these TikToks. Me and my man went on a break, got back together. He fucked 20 girls, and now he's crying because I went on a date. Yes, completely yes. Because the damage level is different. It's just a different thing. So
it's not. It's not different. That just means the guy is, honestly, seemingly weaker than the other person. That's the point that's being drawn out here. Like, he's willing to cheat on this girl over and over and over again, but he can't handle it when she cheats on him. She didn't even cheat on him. She's just, like, going on a date with somebody else. Just everything about the guy's worldview is backwards and nonsensical, and he tries to back it all up with science, but he doesn't know what he's talking about, so it falls flat instantly. If that doesn't show you how he views women, if that doesn't convince you that he's misogynistic, listen to this one.
And this is another point I make, because I have a lot of men message me. I trust, guys, please understand, the most Googled man on the planet.
He is never going to let that go, is he? In July 2022, for like a week, he was more Googled than Kim Kardashian and Donald Trump. That is not the case anymore. And honestly, it wasn't even the case after that, like, week or something like that.
100,000 emails a day from people. And I get dudes email me, how do I get my woman to submit? And I can't reply to all the emails, but
how do I get my woman to submit, he says. Seriously.
If I ever read them, I'm like, bro, you're a fucking dork. Why would she reply to you? Why would she submit to you? You're a fucking nerd.
It's terrible. This guy is so ridiculous from top to bottom. Like, literally everything about the guy is ridiculous. It screams insecurity from the mountaintops. And he has seemingly no idea how embarrassing he is as a human being.
the truth. I'm not out here saying submit to all men. Men are the boss. I'm saying, listen, there's natural balance in the universe.
Okay, so think about what he's doing here, right? He received a little bit of pushback. His real position is women should obey men. Now, I don't know. I feel I've established that pretty well, and I'll establish that a little bit more in a second. But that's his real position, right? And he received a little bit of pushback from that in this conversation he had, and now he's backing off just a little bit. But we know what he believes. So he's going to come in and say, no, I'm not saying that. Yes, he is. He is saying exactly that. He's just trying to hedge now. He's hedging a little bit to soften the blow.
Men are the boss. I'm saying, listen, there's natural balance in the universe. When you meet a G, I've never had trouble with a woman obeying me. She just wants to. It's natural for our dynamic. Mm-hmm. If she didn't want to obey me, we wouldn't even get to the point of a relationship. If she didn't feel like she wanted to listen to me, we would have never got to where we want to get. It just doesn't work.
You know, the word obey implies like a level of authority, like you would have over a child or a dog. I mean, he's made that exact comparison for what it's worth. He compares women to children and dogs all the time, or objects. But you know, my wife doesn't obey me. Like, I don't give her orders or any of this. We're partners. We work together to figure things out and do what we want to do. If she doesn't want me to do something, she tells me and I don't do it. If I don't want her to do something, I tell her and she doesn't do it. But I don't have control over her. She doesn't have control over me. That's not the kind of dynamic that we have. This is so deeply absurd. Just the entire worldview, top to bottom. It is deeply destructive. Like, this is misogyny, right? The idea that he should be in control of a woman, that she should obey him. Trust me, it gets even worse.
It just doesn't work. That shit only happens when the female's fucking giving up sex too easy and the dude's just picking up easy pussy and they end up in some bullshit relationship.
God, I thought I censored this stuff. I'm going to have to censor this later.
They don't even like each other. That's dumb shit. That's dumb shit, right? But I don't have any of these problems in my life. And if you're a dude at home and you're watching this and you go, I want my woman to submit, and she doesn't, guess what? She doesn't respect you. And guess whose fault that is a lot of the time? Your fault. It's your fault as a...
She doesn't submit to you, so it's your fault because she doesn't respect you. You have to be tougher on her. Is this one of those examples where you should use that emotional abuse he's talking about at the beginning of this video? You should be using that to force her to respect you. And if she doesn't, then I guess you just split up. Is that like what he's getting at here?
It's your fault as a man.
You see this woman like cheering on this conversation? I told you, it's not even a debate. Like a lot of the stuff that he says, they like cheerlead for him.
Yes!
It is. Yes! No, it is.
Yes!
No.
This woman right here, this is a YouTuber called Just Pearly Things. That's the name of the channel. And she is the host of the channel. This is Pearl. And she is absolutely unhinged from reality. She is what we call a femcel. She's like a female incel. She buys into the whole ideology. She buys into all of Andrew Tate's beliefs. And it's just disturbing and weird that somebody could ever get to this point. Anyway, keep listening to this.
Yes!
It is.
Yes!
No, it is.
Yes!
No,
That's what you guys need to damn hear. Tell him, please.
But it's not.
And now Andrew Tate realizes that he may be offending his core audience, which is a bunch of incels. So he's going to back off of that and criticize women instead.
Tell him, please.
But it's not about blaming men and women because everyone has a problem. But then there's also men who are worthy of respect who women refuse to respect.
True.
Because
See, he's moving on to the women now.
True.
Because of society.
Tell the sisters
there's two sides to it, right? But a lot of it is if you're a capable enough man and you're brilliant enough, then the female has no choice.
If you're brilliant enough and capable enough, the female has no choice but to obey you. Seriously. He's a human trafficker, a self-avowed, self-described human trafficker. And that is what he's being charged with right now in Romania. How did he get famous? Why does anybody respect the guy? In the UK right now, the school system is running programs to deprogram children who were brainwashed by Andrew Tate, much like a cult leader. It operates exactly like a cult does. The bite model, the model that we use to determine if something is a cult or not, applies to human trafficking exactly the same way. It's the same methodology, the same everything. It all works the exact same way. The same type of manipulation, the same strategies, the same everything. Controlling people's behavior through a system of rewards and punishments, isolating them emotionally, isolating them from information, controlling their thoughts, the whole 9 yards. It's all exactly the same. Andrew Tate operates exactly the same way that a cult leader operates. He effectively is a cult leader. And British schools are attempting to deprogram children from this cult. Now, if that's not enough to convince you that the guy is deeply misogynistic, check this one out.
I like to believe that I would know very well how to make a woman happy. And I know, and whether I do that or not is a conscious decision. And that's where you get to a certain level of grandmastery where if I get a woman, I will literally decide out of 10, how happy do I want her? Does she deserve to be happy 10? Or should I keep her like crying half the time? That it's very
Why? Why would he do something like that? This is the clearest example of emotional manipulation that I think I've ever seen. And he is just coming out and explaining it for you. He's coming out and telling you that he emotionally manipulates the people in his life intentionally to take advantage of them for some specific purpose. Do they deserve to be happy? I can keep them sad if I want. I can keep them crying half the time if I want.
Half the time. That it's very conscious, and women don't think that way. But I'm saying if you're a cutting woman, you can be like that. You could be a bit more like, you know what? I want him infatuated with me. This guy ain't worth the time. That guy I want. And then when you're going to do that, just like the game of chess, if you play chess, it's not big moves that make you lose. It's small positional plays. It's that time you argued about your favorite car. It's the time you disagreed with him about the favorite band. It's the dumb shit that adds up. Whereas really, truthfully, if you're truly smart about the game, you can get him to a point after a few months where he's like, she's my soulmate. She loves everything I love. We think the same. Our hearts are connected. Boom. And then you're safe.
Everything in this guy's mind, everything, every single little action is a manipulation play. Literally everything that this guy does is viewed from the lens of, how can this benefit me? How can I control this other person and coerce them to do something that I want? This is full-blown sociopathy, in my opinion. This is absolutely nuts. There's something called undue influence. I don't know if you've heard this term before. It's a term used in courts a lot. The definition is influence by which a person is induced to act otherwise than by their own free will or without adequate attention to the consequences. Now, undue influence is used in courts to describe situations where people have been manipulated to some degree. They signed a contract, but the contract is not valid because they were unduly influenced by somebody. You know, someone gets you drunk and then lies to you about what's in the contract and convinces you to sign it. That's undue influence. You signed it under undue influence. Or you tell somebody, we're going to split the profits of this venture 50-50. And then you have them sign a contract, and under that contract it says 80-20, and they're getting the 20%. That's fraud. That's deception. That's undue influence. And cults use undue influence all the time. That's the primary issue that I have with cults. That's the thing. And that is what Andrew Tate is describing right now. That's his whole life. That's what the dude is all about. Using undue influence to manipulate, coerce, or otherwise convince people to do something that they wouldn't have done if they were fully informed in an honest way about the consequences of their actions or about the intentions that he had or whatever other thing. He's a scam artist and he's a human trafficker, and I have no idea how he got as famous as he did. Let me know what you think about him in the comments. Let me know if you want to see more stuff like this. Emily Sigmund, I love that he only has the balls to debate, quote-unquote, women who largely agree with him. And honestly, he's on edge even then. Yeah, absolutely. If you watched like my longer breakdown on my Unfiltered channel, you will have seen the manipulation tactics that he used on people and, you know, talking over them and forcing them to kind of submit to his framing of the conversation and everything is absolutely disgusting, everything about it. And people in this conversation, specifically this girl on the right here, Brittany Renner, they just, you know, they go for it. If she really wanted to force herself to kind of be treated as an equal, she could do that. And that's exactly what I would do. But he would almost certainly take it as a personal offense, a hit against his ego, and he would probably stand up and walk out, which I'd be okay with. That would look terrible on him, probably. But, you know, a lot of the time people worry that they're going to lose their opportunity to talk to him or whatever other thing, so they'll just let him railroad over top of them and control the conversation. It's just disgusting, man. Emily Sigmund, the women in this debate, quote unquote, are basically nursing him and tiptoeing around his ego because talking at all, it seems, puts him off. He constantly needs to be cared for and nursed, all while being aggressive, abusive, and in control. Absolutely. Yep. 100%. And instead of confronting him and laying into him, Brittany Renner, the girl right here on the right, is quiet and doesn't challenge him unless it's okay with him that he's challenged, and does it all on his terms. I don't blame her for that at all. What else do you do in this type of situation? If she did challenge him, then the host, this femcel right here on screen, Just Pearly Things, would trash you. I mean, I heard her during this debate trashing some of the people because they challenged him or because they challenged other people on various different things. Just sit there and talk right over them and say, I'm the host, I'm going to tell you how I feel, and then just shit talk them to their face for 5 straight minutes. She's terrible. I would never go on this platform. Not in a million years would I ever go on this platform. I don't care who is appearing on here because it's weighted against the people automatically in favor of Andrew Tate and this nutcase of a femcel. Anyway, just insane. Absolutely insane. You know, people like Andrew Tate, their egos are so fragile, they can't deal with any level of pushback unless they're in control of the pushback. They fall to pieces. Just like Trump, he falls to pieces when he's criticized over the littlest things. He can't stand it. They have similar personalities. They're fragile snowflakes that can't deal with dissent. It drives me nuts. It's embarrassing. It's as embarrassing as it gets. Next, we're going to talk about televangelist Andrew Womack's latest nutter buttery. He claims God has made him completely immune from COVID, and he can do it for you too. Give us 30 seconds, and we'll be right back. You're listening to the Telltale channel. If you like what I do and you want to see me continue to do it, check out my Patreon. You can also check out my Telltale Unfiltered channel, Twitter, and Teespring. All links can be found in the description.
A friend of mine in Illinois actually knows a teacher that comes to school as a furry and wears ears and a tail and uses a litter box at the front of the classroom to relieve himself.
This is Andrew Womack. I'm not really sure I entirely believe that story. That is a little far-fetched. At the front of the classroom. Anyways, he's a televangelist. He is on Kenneth Copeland's TV network, the Victory Channel. Kind of like Cartoon Network or Oxygen or E or whatever. It's like that. Seriously, this dude's not a nobody, okay? And he is out here saying the most unhinged stuff imaginable. Now, that one's pretty bad, but I've got some more stuff I want to talk about with him. Check this one out. Mid-January 2022. I just want to give you a nice, well-formed idea of who he is before we really hit the new stuff, okay? Mid-January 2022, he comes out here and he says this.
I tell you, partnership in the gospel is the greatest thing you can do. When we get to heaven, I can guarantee you there's not a single one of you that's going to be saying, I wish you hadn't have encouraged me to give so much and that I'd have got my 5th flat screen TV. You're going to come up to me and hug my neck and kiss me and say, thank you, thank you, thank you for getting that money out of my pocket.
That's just crooked, dude. When I hear things like this, it makes me wonder, does he even believe the things that he says? Does he even believe that he's going to heaven? If there is a heaven and a hell, I cannot imagine that somebody like this would be going there. I just can't. Not somewhere I'd want to be if he was there, at least. So he comes out on stage early January 2023, and he has some things to say about COVID. Now, there are some clips that I've had in the back that I haven't been able to play this entire time because there were some really stringent rules at YouTube about what you were and were not allowed to talk about. Understandably, I'm all for it. I totally get it. You know, there's a lot of misinformation about COVID and other things floating around all over the internet, and I get the need for moderation. I'm not going to complain after seeing what Elon Musk did to Twitter, but I feel like I'm comfortable playing the stuff now because YouTube's pretty well clarified their COVID misinformation policy to be one where as long as you're debunking it and calling it out and pointing out how false this stuff is, it's okay to play it. So I'm going to pull those clips out of retirement, and we're going to take a look at some of his more disturbing COVID misinformation takes. He just said something that was really questionable and weird and confusing the other day. So let's take a look at this one. Early January 2023. Listen to what he had to say here.
Man, when people get sick, they want to go to the doctor and take a pill. What you need to do is take the gospel, amen, and sow this seed in your heart, and the word of God will be health. Psalms 107, verse 20.
Okay, so what he's saying is that you don't need a pill. You don't need medicine. Modern medicine is worthless to you if you're a Christian, is what he's saying. You don't need a doctor. Nobody should ever go to a doctor, apparently, according to this guy. Because if you read the Bible, it will cure you of your ailments. That's what he believes. And that's what he said in some of the older clips that I haven't been able to cover up to this point. We're going to take a look at those in just a second. Just saying this to a crowd of how many people? I mean, he's on the Victory channel, the Victory Network on TV. Millions of people listen to this guy's sermons. At least millions. At least millions have heard what he said here. And of those millions, what percentage do you think believed him and dropped their doctor? Or hell, may have like a lump on their leg or their chest, or they're coughing a lot, or any number of medical problems that need to be addressed immediately. What percentage of people have these problems and heard him say this and chose not to call the doctor, chose not to address it because of what he said? If he's got millions of viewers and only 1%, hell, 0.1% of his listening audience falls for what he has to say, that's still thousands of people, thousands of lives potentially destroyed because this guy is irresponsible with his platform. It's not even irresponsible. This is what he intends to do. This isn't just reckless. This isn't like, oh, well, I misspoke. Maybe I should have been more careful. No, he's saying this intentionally. You don't need a doctor if you are a Christian. That's what he's saying. It gets even worse. Keep listening here.
There's not 1 out of 1,000 Christians that believes that. Most Christians believe you just have to get sick. It's just part of life. Flu season. You don't have to do that. I'm not a perfect example, but man, I don't get sick. I don't believe in getting sick. I've actually had people that had COVID and they said, don't touch me, I got COVID. I said, come here. And I said, you touch me, those COVID germs will die. Amen.
If you are the perfect Christian, you will never get sick even from COVID. That is so destructive, I don't even know where to start with it. It is so deeply wrong. He is literally endangering people's lives by saying this kind of thing. Thousands of people, if only 0.1%, listen to this message of his. That is by no stretch of the imagination the only example of it. This is like a consistent belief that he harps on constantly. Listen to this one, 2020. He said something really similar. This is when COVID was an issue.
We were promised that no sickness would even come nigh our dwelling. And Daniel, something I've been studying just in the last couple of days based on all of this was Exodus 23:25. And that verse says that you shall serve the Lord your God, and he shall take away all sickness all sickness away from the midst of thee. And I looked up those words in the Hebrew, and the word take and away, the word on either side of sickness, it literally means to turn off.
Wow.
He will turn off sickness, and it was put in there twice just to emphasize that, you know, whatever receptors you have in your body that make you receptive to sickness, he'll turn it off.
That's awesome.
That's awesome.
That's a great revelation.
I've got all of that on our website. You can go study those things.
That's going to be a no from me, dog. Yeah, that would be awesome if it were real. Unfortunately, it's not. And again, millions of listeners, if only 0.1% believe what he's saying here, which certainly more than that do, he is endangering thousands of lives with this kind of garbage. Seriously. But you know what? Let's actually look this up. There's something called the interlinear version of the Bible. I don't know if you've heard of this before, but you can actually look at the original text of the Bible, the Aramaic or the Hebrew or the Greek or whatever language it was written in. You can look at the original language and find out exactly what it's saying. If you remember, just now he made a very specific claim about what's in that book. So let's find out if he's lying or not, because I find people like this tend to lie nonstop. Let's listen to the claim again.
And I looked up those words in the Hebrew, and the word take and away, the word on either side of
Exodus 23:25. Interlinear. Let's just look at the original language, shall we? Exodus 23:25. This is a direct translation. It hasn't been changed to be more readable by an American audience or anything. This is an exact translation. Your water and your bread, and he will bless your God Yahweh, so you shall serve from the midst of you sickness, and I will take away. That is a literal, direct translation. This is his translation. You shall serve the Lord your God, and he shall bless thy bread and thy water, and I will take sickness away from the midst of thee. Now let's listen to the claim one more time and see if he's completely full of it.
Take and away, the word on either side of sickness, it literally means to turn off.
What?
It literally means to turn off. Actually, there is a word in Hebrew that translates to take and one that translates to away. As it turns out, this is the word. It's pronounced wahasiroti, apparently. I'm probably saying it wrong. Forgive me. But here are some other contexts in which it's used. I will remove. Remove, I will take, and I will take, will take, and remove. It means to remove or to take away, literally. That's actually literally what it means. And apparently the word wahasiroti is a combination of take away. So I have no idea what he's talking about here. He says it means to turn off. No, it doesn't. It does not mean that. There is no example in the interlinear Bible of this word meaning to turn off. I don't know where he found that. I don't know why he says it. But again, I happen to know that this guy likes making things up pretty regularly, so it wouldn't surprise me if he just made this one up.
And away, the word on either side of sickness, it literally means to turn off.
Wow.
He will turn off sickness, and it was put in there twice just to emphasize that, you know, whatever receptors you have in your body that make you receptive to sickness, he'll turn it off.
Just completely made up. Completely fabricated right out of the ether. Of course. Listen to this next one, mid-July 2020. If you remember, around this time, COVID really started to hit and be taken seriously around February 22nd. I think that's when the stock market just tanked. That's kind of the gauge that I use. That's when everybody started taking things seriously, right? So February is when it started. Trump claimed that by the end of April it would be over. By mid-July, when this clip came out, everybody was taking it seriously and recognized that this is going to be a long-term thing that we have to deal with. Okay, so scientists were coming out with studies and talking about how we can solve this. We'd been social distancing for a while by now. We were quarantining, we were wearing masks, the whole 9 yards. We were in the swing of things by this point in time. Now listen to what he had to say mid-July 2020.
Did you know if you get tested for the COVID-19 virus, if you've had a flu shot, then you test positive?
No, there is absolutely no excuse for this kind of misinformation at the time. This took the most cursory, basic amount of research to find. At no point was there ever even the idea that you might test positive in the scientific community if you have a flu shot. You know why? Because it's not the flu. Scientists know that. They knew that then. They knew it from the very beginning. It was never like the flu. Now, Donald Trump and some far-right conservative extremists who refuse to listen to science to any degree came out and asked questions like this, but there's no excuse for this. He should have known better. He should have just done literally any amount of research to figure this out. And he just came out here on his show and stated it as a fact in front of millions of people.
Then you test positive. If you've had a cold, you test positive. If
No, again, false.
you've had the flu, because all of those things are COVID. COVID-19 is the 19th different COVID virus. A cold, the common cold is a...
God, dude. We knew that this is complete nonsense at the time. Seriously. This isn't like hindsight is 2020. This is like, you're not like even looking things up, just the most basic stuff. Who told him this? It's clear to me that the guy has somebody in his ear that he listens to and just straight up believes literally anything out of their mouths. Like he questions nothing from whoever he gets this information from. Complete nonsense, top to bottom. COVID-19 is the 19th virus. What? What were the other 18 then? This is ridiculous. The flu is not a coronavirus. There is a coronavirus that is responsible for some percentage of the cold viruses that get circulated around are coronaviruses, a type of coronavirus. But most of the cold viruses that infect people with colds are rhinoviruses, I believe. Hang on, let me look this up. Is rhinovirus a coronavirus? A coronavirus is named that because of the shape of the particle, like the shape of the actual virus itself. It's shaped like a crown, and corona means crown. So anyway, that's why coronaviruses are named coronaviruses in the first place. I'm not sure if rhinoviruses are coronaviruses. I don't think they are. I don't believe that rhinoviruses are coronaviruses, though. And rhinoviruses make up like 40% of the viruses that are responsible for the common cold. So he has no idea what he's talking about. Again, the most basic, cursory amount of research would have debunked what he heard. But he heard it from somebody that he knows, and he just repeated it blindly without asking any questions at all in front of millions of people. I mean, this guy falsely prophesied about Donald Trump and a bunch of other things. Falsely prophesied. Lied. Blatantly, flat out lied. Claimed he heard God's voice when he did not. There's no reason to trust a word out of this guy's mouth. But there are gullible suckers out there believing everything he says anyways.
Common cold is a COVID virus. The flu is a COVID virus.
No, a COVID virus. No, COVID is a very specific illness caused by a coronavirus. That's what COVID is. COVID is an illness caused by a virus.
The flu is a COVID virus.
No.
And so anyway, they're saying that this inflates the numbers.
Okay, so what he's claiming here falsely is that people can test positive for COVID if they have the cold or the flu, and that is artificially inflating numbers. No to all of that. At no point in time did anybody ever test positive for COVID because they had the flu or because they had a common cold. That is completely false. Didn't even bother trying looking this stuff up. I mean, this is not the guy's first rodeo, if you will. I feel like that word fits with the vest that he's wearing right now. Not his first rodeo, not his first hoedown with false information. Check this one out. February 2nd, 2021, comes out here and, again, blatantly lies to the audience.
You know, real quickly, we need to take questions, but real quickly, when my wife and I first got married, we were poor and we lived in a house that wasn't insulated. And so we had a gas heater on the inside to keep the place warm, but because there was no insulation, the walls sweat. And in the closets, especially where it was dark and stuff like this, we just had mildew everywhere. And you know what I did? Instead of taking something and cleaning it off and repainting or something, I took Deuteronomy chapter 28 and read it. Mildew, you are accursed. Then I turned over to Galatians 3:13. I'm redeemed from you. And I spoke to mildew and cursed it. And did you know it went away without me having to clean it and do something?
Totally, I bet. It was because he cursed the mildew, not that his wife came around behind him and cleaned it up. It was totally reading the Bible to the mildew that did it, right? Absolutely. That's just a flat-out lie. He's just lying. He is telling falsehoods right now, is what he's doing. Blatantly lying. Now, does he know that he's not telling the truth here? Is he aware that his wife cleaned it up behind him? Is this story even real? I don't know. I can't say. But I do know for a fact that he claimed to hear the voice of God, and he didn't. So that is at least one example of him lying blatantly to your face.
It was a curse, and I rebuked the curse, and I got free from that.
Okay, so I showed this clip at the very beginning, but I didn't really talk about it. Listen to this clip again, mid-September 2022. I just want to give you a well-formed idea of this guy's personality, exactly who he is.
A friend of mine in Illinois actually knows a teacher that comes to school as a furry and wears ears and a tail and uses a litter box at the front of the classroom to relieve himself.
He had to go all out with this, didn't he? It couldn't just be the teacher wore ears and a tail to the classroom. It had to be that he put a litter box in the classroom at the front of the classroom, in front of the desks and everything, and uses that litter box at the front of the classroom with students there, presumably. He couldn't just leave it at something actually believable. I mean, why would a teacher wear, a tail and ears to the classroom anyway? I guess I can think of a reasonable explanation. Maybe it was Spirit Week and they were dressing up for one of their special days or whatever. Plenty of reasonable explanations, but he had to take it a step further and make it a completely unbelievable story that his audience is going to believe anyways, no matter how unbelievable the story is. He literally said a teacher pees in a litter box at the front of a classroom in front of students and never got questioned on it. Just kept on going. The two people he's talking to right here just went along with it as though it was true. This attack on furries that he's doing here is really a veiled attack on the trans community. It doesn't seem like it at first glance, but that's really what it is. The idea that people can be like any gender they want or, any gender other than the one that they were born as is absolutely abhorrent to him. It's despicable to him. He can't stand the idea. And in an effort to demonize the trans community, he conflates changing your gender with changing your gender to be that of an animal or something. This is just an old 4chan meme that's being recycled right now. The idea of otherkin, where you're a wolf spirit or whatever. It's completely made up. Like, nobody actually does this. But the right uses this as an angle to attack the trans community. I mean, that one's pretty blatant, but he just comes out and attacks the trans community from time to time. Listen to this one. This is from 2021. He lays it on the line pretty clearly here.
This is something that's very politically incorrect. And
he's a martyr. He's going to say it anyways, and he's going to get canceled for it, right? He's a fighter for us.
Will be a lot of people will find this to be upsetting, but I tell you, the things that are happening in our nation, it is a doctrine of the devil. It's not just people with a different opinion.
Wow, what a brave soul to say things that are happening in the nation are doctrines of demons. He's so honorable. He's going to be canceled for this, for telling his church that Satan operates within the country. Wow, huh? Give the guy a round of applause. He's such a fighter for the common man.
It's not just some people have a different take on things. It is literally doctrines of the devil. They are taking children as young as 4 and 5 years old and telling them that you were born in the wrong body. You're actually a woman in a man's body, or a man in a woman's body.
No, they're not. This is completely made up. This is not happening anywhere in the entire country.
And they are surgically altering them and giving them hormone blockers and stuff.
Why would anybody... No, this is, I believe, against the law, isn't it? To give gender reassignment surgery on a 4 or a 5-year-old? Isn't this illegal? Like, nobody is doing this. It's completely made up, this entire thing. Again, something that he heard from somebody. Someone's in his ear, and they said, hey, did you know that if you have the flu, you will test positive for COVID? And instead of thinking critically about it for 15 seconds or doing the most cursory amount of research, he just comes out here and repeats it. Did you know they're doing gender reassignment surgery on 4 and 5-year-olds? No research necessary. Just come out here and get your audience whipped into a blood frenzy over it. That's who Andrew Womack is.
I'm telling you, this is not just a different opinion, somebody that has a little different way of looking at things. It is a doctrine of demons. Mm-hmm. It is demonic. And the people who are doing it are being influenced and controlled by the devil.
The people who are giving gender reassignment surgery to 4 and 5-year-olds, they're being influenced by the devil? Okay.
These are doctrines of demons. That a man can just choose to be a woman. He can choose to go into a woman's restroom because he feels like a woman today.
Okay, that's not how it happens. Do you have any idea how complicated it is, how long it takes to be legally recognized as trans? Do you have any idea how hard it is to overcome the social barriers in place to prevent people from doing something like that? Do you have any idea how deeply ugly the bullying gets for people like this? Just like claiming all that stuff about COVID, I doubt he did a lick of research. I doubt he looked into it beyond just listening to what this friend of his is saying. I mean, he is completely disconnected from anything resembling reality. Everything this guy seems to believe is completely made up, fabricated problems that don't exist. And the quote-unquote problems that do exist, trans people existing, is personal freedom. That's free speech, baby. That's what America is ostensibly all about, right? Dude claims to be all about freedom of speech and personal freedom and liberty and justice and all that stuff. But when push comes to shove, he doesn't like any of that. What he likes is controlling other people, imposing his will and worldview on them at any cost. He was never about freedom of speech. He was never about liberty. He was always about forcing others to believe and behave the way he wants them to. That's how all of these televangelists and Christian nationalists view things. Trust me, I've been following these people for a while, and there's a common thread between them. Anyway, let me know what you think about this guy in the comments. Next, we're going to talk about televangelist Lance Wallnau praying for another bad boy billionaire, quote-unquote, to sweep in and save the United States, like Elon Musk and Trump did, apparently. Give us 30 seconds, and we'll be right back. You're listening to the Telltale channel. If you like what I do and you want to see me continue to do it, check out my Patreon. You can also check out my Telltale Unfiltered channel, Twitter, and Teespring. All links can be found in the description.
I believe Donald Trump has unfinished business in the nations. And I believe you will not let someone who has stood with Israel and stood with Christians, you will not let them be ingloriously beaten and embarrassed by your enemies.
Oh boy, that was from, I think, October 2020. This is before Donald Trump, or before the election actually took place, before Donald Trump lost his election. This televangelist is out here claiming that Donald Trump is most definitely going to win the 2020 election because God would not allow Donald Trump to lose. Kind of interesting. Pretty bold move, but okay. Not one I would make. Not my life, though, I suppose. Let's listen to the entire thing because it gets deeply entertaining. Check this out.
I believe Donald Trump has unfinished business in the nations. And I believe you will not let someone who has stood with Israel and stood with Christians, you will not let them be ingloriously beaten and embarrassed by your enemies.
That didn't work out very well for him, I guess, did it?
Because your name is part of this, Lord. What will the heathens say? What will the radicals say? What will the communists say when someone who stands with you so conspicuously does not have a friend in high places watching over them? Well,
no need to wonder. Now we see exactly what the quote-unquote heathens and communists would say. I don't even want to identify myself among this group because it's completely fabricated. Communists, by and large, don't even exist in the United States. Not in any kind of positions of power. I guess you could call, I'm a non-believer. I'm not a Christian nationalist. So I suppose you could identify me as a heathen or whatever. He certainly would, right? So what do I say about that? I say Donald Trump is pretending to be religious, has been since the beginning. I don't know if the guy even believes in God. I think he believes himself to be God, if anything. And this gullible sucker bought it. Or, at the very least, he wants his audience to believe it, even if he doesn't. But what an embarrassing thing to say in the first place, right? To come out here and tie God's name to Donald Trump like that, not knowing if Trump would win or not, that is a deeply risky move. But here's the interesting thing about this decision that this televangelist made. This guy made the decision to come out here and make a direct claim that Donald Trump is going to win the election because God is going to make it so, right? Now, Donald Trump lost. What happens now? Everybody completely forgets about it. They don't even remember that this guy said it. I think this clip is from October 2020, a month before the election, like I said a minute ago. And nobody, except for me, remembers that this even came out. His audience certainly doesn't remember this, but I guarantee you, if Trump had actually won the election, this clip would be plastered all over everything. He would be playing this on repeat for 2 years straight because he'd be using it as evidence of a correct prophecy, of a fulfilled prophecy. This is how these people do it. By these people, I mean false prophets, fake prophets, televangelists who pretend to be prophets of God. They come out here and make all of these false prophecies, and they zero in on the hits and pretend the misses never happened. It's called the Texas sharpshooter fallacy, and they use it to their advantage constantly. Anyway, this is Lance Wallnau, and he's said some even more unhinged stuff, if you can believe it. He came out here not too long ago and had some interesting stuff to say. Check this out, early January 2023.
Lord, we pray for Elon, and we pray for Donald. And I pray that you'll complete that with a third billionaire. Lord, we need one more bad boy billionaire raised up. We got Elon. I pray you save him and give him Christians around him. Babylon B, have those guys talk to him.
Dude, we do not need any more billionaires. Why are there Christian, televangelist, Christian nationalist type of people out here carrying water for billionaires? What was it that Jesus said? It's on the tip of my tongue. It's easier for a camel to fit through the eye of a needle than for a rich man to enter the kingdom of God. Is that what it is? I think that's the saying, right? If you believe in Jesus, then sell all your stuff, give it to the poor, and follow me. Is that sounding familiar? This guy is a millionaire himself and is walking around praising billionaires. Matter of fact, he doesn't just praise billionaires. He literally prays over cardboard cutouts of billionaires. We'll get there in a second. Keep listening to what he says.
Talk to him. That'll really get his heart and mind engaged and infatuated with the radical Jesus. Let Donald Trump, Lord, he's prayed the sinner's prayer, but I don't think he ever got filled with the Holy Ghost. I pray he needs to have a Pentecostal encounter, Lord. I don't want to hear this. I don't want to have the smell of smoke on him for the next 2 or 3 years. We want him to be supernaturally sanctified by the power of God. Save him, fill him, Lord God. Do it in his sleep if you have to.
This is actually really interesting because Lance Wallnau has been like the biggest Trump supporter alive for the past like few years. I don't know, 6 years or something like that. And it kind of seems like Wallnau is like backing off of that a little bit, right? It's almost like he's saying Trump needs revival. He needs to come to Jesus. He doesn't think that he's truly come to Jesus. When not long ago, I mean 6 months ago, I was covering videos of televangelists like Lance Wallnau talking about how they believe that Trump is like a Messiah figure, that he's, you know, got his own connection to Jesus. I mean, there are still televangelists out there today who believe this. But Wallnau is more of a political actor. It's almost like he's going wherever he thinks the political tides will take him. But remember a minute ago I said this is not the first time he's prayed over Donald Trump or for Donald Trump, right? He's actually literally prayed over a cardboard cutout of Donald Trump. Check this out, early January 2022, last year.
I pray for this man. Lord, I pray you take the smell of smoke, the disappointment, the bitterness, the anger, the feeling of betrayal and loss that...
Who has a cardboard cutout of Donald Trump in their house? Seriously, why does he have this? Where do you buy something like this?
And loss. That it must be a terrible thing, Lord, to actually feel as though you've been stolen an election and that the nation that you love is suffering with it. But I'm asking you, Lord, I just found a flag here. I didn't know I had this. I'll bring that out. I pray, Lord, that...
Dude, did he just interrupt his prayer to talk about this flag that he has? What the hell is going on right now? Okay, so I guess he's going to continue praying over a cardboard cutout of Donald Trump.
Bring that out. I pray, Lord, that you'll take the smoke away. You'll give him a revelation that he is nothing but an instrument of yours, and that as an instrument, you have your hand on him, so that, Lord, he won't be moving in anger or bitterness or rage, but you'll...
Dude, it's Donald Trump. Do you really think that he has any other setting but rage and bitterness?
Moving in anger or bitterness or rage, but you'll take that away from him and show him that he's but an instrument and that he's being used by the hand of providence.
Do you think he sits here fondling this cardboard cutout in his free time? Something tells me that we should be worried for this cardboard cutout's well-being. I mean, I just want to give you a good idea of who this guy is. He's a televangelist, incredibly famous, got a massive audience. He goes on the Kenneth Copeland's Victory TV network all the time. I mean, this is a big network. This is like Cartoon Network or E or Oxygen or like TBS or any of them. It's like Fox or whatever. It's huge. And he's on there constantly. He's not a nobody. I mean, I think he has like a TV show on the Victory Network or something like that. So I want to give you a good idea of who he is and what he believes. This one's from late October 2022. Check this out.
We are in a death struggle. Mastriano needs your support in Pennsylvania, every Christian in Pennsylvania.
Yeah, so this was leading up to the 2022 midterm elections, is right before them. And he's trying to, as a televangelist, as a man of God, as a pastor, trying to convince his congregation or his audience or listeners or whatever to vote for the people that he wants them to vote for. This is supposed to get his tax-exempt status revoked. But, you know, I guess we don't really live in that kind of a world anymore.
Needs to be on their knees and need to be out there working to get that guy in. Kerry Lake out, the same thing in Arizona.
The people that he's named so far both lost their elections, Mastriano and Kerry Lake. I'm going to talk about Mastriano in a minute, but they were both complete nutcases. I mean, entirely unqualified to be in government at all. They're unqualified to push a broom in government. No joke. They are as corrupt as they come and full-blown delusional. Like, these are people that were convinced that Donald Trump won the 2020 election. Mastriano was even at the Capitol on January 6th. Like I said, we'll get into Mastriano in a minute. I just want to give you an idea of the politicians that this pastor here is endorsing to his audience of congregants.
Doug Masters. You know what I'm talking about.
It's Blake Masters, not Doug Masters. He mixed up Doug Mastriano and Blake Masters. He has no idea what he's talking about. No one else knows what you're talking about because you don't either. Lance. Well, I guess I do.
You've got Ron out there in Wisconsin.
Dude, he's forgetting people's names. Holy... Yeah, he was talking about Ron Johnson. Ron Johnson did win his election. Blake Masters, Doug Mastriano, Kerry Lake, all three complete nutcases, and they all three lost their elections. But Ron Johnson, unfortunately, won his election. He did assist in January 6th in a lot of ways, too.
In Wisconsin right now. These men are in the battle of their lives.
No, they're just trying to win their elections. These are not battles of their lives, quote unquote. I feel like that's a little overstated.
These men and women, and they're Christians. Many of them are Christians. While we sit down and we don't want to get political. I'm tired of preachers that keep saying, well, it isn't about politics. It is about politics.
Well, you're supposed to lose your tax-exempt status if you bring politics. I mean, this is like part of the IRS tax code. This is the Johnson Amendment. You're supposed to lose tax-exempt status for this. Unfortunately, the IRS doesn't care.
When you're dealing with the Nazi Party, or you're dealing with the KKK, or you're dealing with organized Antifa, you're dealing with something you can't afford to go too neutral. You've got to say, we're dealing with a governmental crisis.
Wow. Well, the implication is that the KKK and the Nazi Party would be on the left side of the political spectrum. Completely made up. That is 100% false. The Nazi Party used the vehicle of the National Socialist movement to take control of the country and move it really, really, really far to the right. And the KKK is very obviously a far-right movement, has been since the very beginning. And he knows that. I don't believe for a second that he's unaware of the history of either of these two things. And as for Antifa, there is no organized Antifa that's out there trying to cause shenaniganery or whatever. It's just completely made up. But that's how propaganda works, and he's a master of it. But he did mention Doug Mastriano earlier. Like I said, Mastriano lost his election. I haven't had an opportunity to talk about this, so I just want to mention it real quick. Late April 2022, I want to show you what Mastriano had to say. He went to a QAnon convention. He's a full-blown QAnoner, or at the very least, he was catering to this group and trying to get their vote. Listen to what Mastriano had to say at this QAnon convention called Patriots Arise, run by QAnoner Francine Fosdick. This is before the primaries, so Mastriano was not guaranteed to go up against a Democrat in the general election in 2022 yet at this point. He still had to win the primary in 2022 against the more reasonable Republican. He did eventually go on to win the primary, but anyway, let's listen to what Mastriano had to say here.
God is really working in our state. I know things are dark. I know it's not going to be easy, but we're going to win on May 17th with your help.
He did. He won on May 17th. He won that primary and went on to battle in the general election 2022, but eventually lost.
And in November, we're going to take our state back. My God will make it so.
Ooh, yeah, ouch. My God will make it so, you say. Sure enough, he lost to the Democrat in 2022 in November. What a thing to say, my God will make it so. Inextricably linking religion and politics, intentionally. The guy was a religious extremist, still is, and he set out to link religion and politics together to the best of his ability, and this is the result. Absolutely disgusting, man. This is who Lance Wallnau was endorsing. Lance Wallnau is all about linking religion and politics, whatever it takes. You know, he didn't remember Blake Masters' name exactly, because Blake Masters, though he is an extremist, wasn't quite as extreme as Doug Mastriano. It does not really get more extreme than Doug Mastriano. Dude was at the Capitol on January 6th, waltzing around. This one is from early October 2022. Mastriano sees somebody wearing an American flag and a Confederate flag, like melded together as a cape, and he praises the kid, says he loves the cape, says he thinks more people should be wearing Confederate flags around.
You too.
Introduce myself, Eric from Lancaster.
Eric is.
I follow you every night on Facebook.
That is fan. Any words of wisdom for our constituents out there?
I wouldn't show up today.
Not unless you love America. You're looking good there, man.
Thanks.
I can't think of a better cape.
Dude's literally wearing a Confederate flag for a cape, and Mastriano is praising him. Doesn't get more extreme than Mastriano. And Lance Wallnau loves the guy, praises him, thinks he's fantastic, remembers his name, wants more of it. He's a full-blown Christian nationalist. Lance Wallnau is. Always has been. And you know something else about him? He doesn't seem to know the difference between equality and oppression. Have you ever heard the term, when all you know is privilege, equality feels like oppression? It's a perfect description of Lance Wallnau. Listen to this clip from him, mid-July 2021.
I have a lost passport, misplaced passport. So I went yesterday to Dallas, downtown Dallas, spent 90 minutes standing in line, showed up at 9 a.m., 8:45 in the morning. The government, typical government website, couldn't answer a call for an appointment, so I just walk in. I have same day flights out of the country already booked.
Okay, so let's break down the story here. Lance Wallnau needs a passport immediately, as same-day flights booked to leave the country, and he needs his passport now. So, naturally, being as privileged as he is, he assumes he can just waltz right in with no appointment and get his passport taken care of immediately, right?
Already booked. And they waited till I was like the last person in line, and then came up to me, which I think was like a political statement more than anything, and told me that it wouldn't be fair for me to be able to get my passport. Not that they couldn't do it, but as a matter of principle, because there are people that were there earlier at 8 o'clock, an hour earlier, who they had to turn away. Now, I don't think there was one person who was turned away who had a same-day ticket.
I don't give a shit when you got your ticket. It doesn't mean you get special treatment. When all you know is privilege, equality feels like oppression. They were treating him like equals. They were treating him the same as they treated everybody else. He needed a passport, and instead of setting up an appointment like everybody else, he tried to get special treatment, and it didn't work. And guess what? When you try to get special treatment and it doesn't work, it's oppression. You're being oppressed. That's where this guy's head is at.
Not one. But because there were other people that walked in that were turned away, I had to be turned away. So I began to wonder if it was political.
Totally, yeah, absolutely. Couldn't be that you're just being treated as an equal. It has to be somebody hates you, right?
You think so? I was wondering if I was singled out for a reason.
He wasn't singled out. That's the problem. He was treated like everybody else. How is he not getting this? Like, even the story that he's telling us, he doesn't look good in this story. He's reframing it to make it sound like he's like the victim of some crime. The story he's telling us, he was at fault. You have to set up appointments for this stuff.
So I literally said, well, I guess I got to get a letter from Congress. I got the letter from Congress. Now I have a letter from a congressman.
Oh, okay. Well, those are two different things. A letter from Congress is not the same as a letter from a congressman. What would somebody even do with a letter from a congressman? Like the DMV or whoever issues passports answers to some random congressman. I mean, that was a little slip in the mask there, though, wasn't it? That was a little arrogance coming out, showing how important he is, showing that he knows congressmen, so he deserves to be treated as special. He's not some low-life nobody who makes $30,000 a year. He knows a congressman.
It's a friend of mine. And let's see if it goes on. And pray for me. I'm not looking for a fight here. I'm not looking for a news item either. Pray, pray, pray. Pray that I could get through here and not tangle with these political spirits that really want to harass, and especially if you're a conservative, that want to punish you by the bureaucracy.
It is the most absurd persecution complex I have ever seen. This guy really leans into the whole persecution complex thing. He absolutely needs to be mistreated. He needs it. Why? You got me. I couldn't possibly guess. He needs it because persecution builds a sense of brotherhood and camaraderie, in all seriousness. And if he can convince his listening audience that he's persecuted, he can convince them that they're persecuted too, which builds a sense of group loyalty and makes them more willing to donate to him, to support him, to listen to everything he has to say, because he purports to have the answer to all of this supposed persecution. Absolutely absurd, top to bottom. But that's Lance Wallnau for you. Let me know what you think about the guy. Let me know if you want to see more stuff by him. Lance Wallnau is very calculated. I don't know that he even believes a lot of this stuff, to be honest with you. I think he's faking a lot of it. Even the whole persecution angle that he takes, I think it's fake. I think he knows exactly what he's doing and sets out to kind of twist things around and make people feel more persecuted than they are, or convince people of ridiculous things despite knowing that it's not true. That's my suspicion with the guy. I don't think that of everybody. I always assume that people like, Kent Hovind or Kenneth Copeland or anybody, I assume those people believe the things that they say. It's particularly like Jehovah's Witness governing body members or whatever. I think they buy their own nonsense more often than not, and I feel like it's safer to assume that they do. But with Lance Wallnau specifically, I think he knows what he's doing, and I think he's doing it maliciously, in my opinion. Polly Pockets. So, old dude had time to get a letter from a congressman, but didn't have time to make an appointment? Exactly. As if a letter from a letter from a congressman would even help him. Like it did nothing, but, I don't know, show them that he was somebody important? What? Like, what did he intend to do with that? How did that help him at all? It's just ridiculous nonsense. Thank you guys for coming and giving this a listen, and I will talk to you next week. If you like what I do and you want to see me continue to do it, you can support me in a few ways. First, there's Patreon. That's probably the best way. But if you want to get something back for your support, you can check out my Teespring. I sell all kinds of shirts and coffee cups and stuff on there. You can also check out my other channels. I have a Telltale Unfiltered YouTube channel where I go through long-form videos like Kent Hovind's seminar series, Jehovah's Witnesses TV show, and Televangelist prophesying about politics. And finally, you can check out my social media. If you have a question for me, the best way to ask it is to tweet it at me. I'm on there all the time, so check it out. All links are in the description as always. Anyways, that's all I've got for you. Thanks for listening.